yeah, we'll jump into this. Um, as I mentioned, maybe some of you weren't here, but today what I wanted to do is really just kind of go through the SEO SOP because as you all know, I love SEO. I know a lot of you are doing SEO too, and maybe some of you not so much. My goal for today is really to demystify a lot of the SEO stuff, because I know that there's a lot of information online. Boy, there's a lot of information, YouTube videos, blogs, gurus, all that stuff. And it can be really confusing, especially if you haven't done any for yourself, right? You have never tested anything out. You haven't tried anything. And I know for me, there was like this singular moment of where I started to actually get a good understanding of it. And that moment for me was when I was able to successfully track the rankings that I did for a website, because up until that point, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I didn't know what was working, right? I would like add these little tags and add content and then add the image, I do all these little things. And I'm like, I think I'm doing SEO. Is this all relevant? Is this real? Is it, since it takes time to actually show up, you're just kind of like, what the hell am I doing? Does anybody feel that way right now? Or are you all pretty, Dan feels that way, Bruce feels that way? Okay. But, again, there's kind of this, at least for me, this defining moment of, using rank tracking, seeing a website go from, 8th position or 50th position, whatever it is, and then start to move up. And I'm like, oh, what did I do there? Like, what was it that I actually did that made that change the position of this website? And so I did that a lot, in my early years. I did that a lot, and I still do. But then I became confident in what I was doing to the point where I started to take all the little things that worked and then just implement them for every website that I was doing SEO on. And what I had found was that, the process that I have to do these things, it's repeatable. It's something that you can repeat for other websites. And then that's what I've been going off of. Whenever we get new clients, that's what I go off of. Whenever I teach people, that's what I teach them. I teach them what I'm doing and what I've seen to work. And I've seen lots of people replicate this and also go through that moment of, I keep calling it a singular moment of actually having some rankings happen for themselves and say, okay, what I'm doing isn't just theory. I've actually seen it work now. And that will really help boost some of your confidence. And so, a lot of that information really has been added into the SEO SOP, which you all have. And if you don't have it, it's in your members area, and you can access it at any time. So what I wanted to do was go through some of that stuff and just, roundtable talk about it, demystify it, make sure that whenever you leave this call today, you feel more confident in what we're doing and what's in that SOP so that you can implement it for yourself. So sound good, everybody? Anybody have any questions thus far? I'm going to pull up this document for you. And, it's funny because there's so much information online. There's it's almost like there's an overkill of information online, right? Everybody's got all these crazy theories of stuff they're doing. And yes, there are lots of things that will help. There are lots of tools that people put out there that can help. But the foundation of SEO is usually very simple. You need to have good on-page optimization, right? And then once you have that good on-page optimization, you need to have relevance for whatever search terms that you are ranking for. So if your website is about roofers and you have all these pages on the website talking about dentistry, Google's going to be like, what the hell is this website about? It's not going to be ranking you for roofs or dentist. It's going to be confused, right? So the whole point is really to get into the SEO mindset. Like when you're looking at ranking your website, if it's an agency website, everything on that website needs to be related to marketing or maybe a specific service that you're offering, if it's just one service or whatever it is. So keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind. Here we go. And if you have questions as we go through some of this stuff, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll circle back around and jump into them. Let me just make sure I have the right one open here. Has anybody started to do any SEO on their own website thus far? Agency site? Dan, how's that going? You get any traction?
No.
No? How long you been working
Just
on it?
started.
Just started. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Anybody else?
I am.
Bruce?
Yes, I actually ranked number one for SEO in 2 different cities right around me. So, so first spot in the maps and first spot in organic. So that's good.
Nice. I like to hear that. And how long you been working on that?
About 3 months. So not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, that's
So,
great timing.
A big part of it was, I think, changing the titles and getting the H1 tags right. So
Right. And that's, that's the on page, right? Like if you don't have that part correctly and you do all the other stuff like get backlinks and citations and press releases, and it doesn't matter. You have to have that part right first. And a lot of times just doing that will really give you a significant increase.
it did. Yep.
Who else? Norm, you're doing something for yourself as well?
Yep, I did mine a long time ago when we started. It's pretty good right now, but I'm not trying to rank really with it because my area, my city is massive, right? The competition is, you're fighting with people who every day their job is just ranking on the first page of Google. And when you look at my company on Google, you see all of them putting in ads there, right? So I got a list of competitors. There's like 40 of them. So I'm not trying to compete with them. I got other stuff coming, so I'm okay with that. But I've cleared up the agency site that we got. I've cleared up the back of it so it looks better, to Google and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah. And the minimum viable SEO presence is a great way to have it too, right? Like just enough so that if somebody goes looking for you, they can find you. I'd say that, oftentimes that at a bare minimum, like that's great, right? What you don't want to happen is like you sell somebody some SEO and they go looking for you and they can't even find you. That's not very good, So I would encourage everybody to do at least the minimum viable, which is to do some, if you go to Google right now and you look up your agency's name, you should come up. That's what I would call the minimum viable. Does anybody have a website right now? If you went to look up your agency, and does it not come up on the first page of Google? Okay, cool. That's good news.
I have like citations and all those things done too for
Nice.
Like in 10 different spots. I've got backlinks and stuff like that too happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right, well, let's jump into this SOP, right? So what we're doing, this is our SEO campaign, right? Just to kind of give a brief overview so you know what we're going to be covering on it, right? We have it split up into months because when we sell SEO, it's a recurring monthly service. Whenever I sell an SEO retainer or somebody on my team does, the way that we usually set the expectation of the client is that, it takes 3 to 6 months to actually see some results from doing search engine optimization. Some of the more competitive industries, it's going to take more time. But each month we do a series of things that helps to let Google know that their website is more relevant, right? And so I have this, as I mentioned, this formula that I have used and created for quite some time now, and have been able to repeat things. So, this is our first month. We're going to go through it. We have the second month and ongoing, which, it's funny because the ongoing version, the first month is usually a lot of setup, right? It's that on page stuff that we just were talking about. And then the second months and the following months are usually very similar, but we just switch out some of the off page signals, right? And for those of you that don't know, an off page signal can be something like a backlink coming from another website to your target website, right? So like, let's just say for my agency, if search engine news, right? It's a popular blog out there about SEO. If they published a blog article on their website about marketing And on that article, there was a link to my website. That would basically let Google know that my website is relevant about search engine optimization and marketing, right? Because that authority website, that's what it's about. And it's sending this vote of trust to this other website, which could potentially be about marketing. They're not going to be sending links to dentists, right? So that's an off-page signal. And beyond links, we also do things like press releases, which is, you know, sending out a press release to news publications. That's a great way to get some white hat backlinks. And then we do citations, right? We do citations, which are very similar to like listings on a directory, right? A lot of times directory listings, those are also called citations. It's really any place that you can find your name, address, and phone number of a business, that's a citation. So think like Yellow Pages, Yelp. Those are all citations. Even you could even consider, you know, something like Facebook to be a form of a citation, because you can actually link your name, address, phone number, right? But it's more of we call that like a web 2.0 property, right? So the ongoing months beyond month one is really just a rotation of these different types of these off-page signals, which we're going to get into. So let's see. This SOP is really designed to have somebody come in on your team, and if they don't know what SEO is and they don't know how you're fulfilling it or selling it, they can come in and they can read this SOP and be like, okay, you know, what are we doing here? We're doing search engine optimization. Why are we doing it? Because, you know, obviously we sold them, they want to rank higher in Google. Our purpose here is to rank their website higher for profitable search terms related to their business. And I know some of that's kind of like the baby stuff, right? But you never know who might be coming into your business and your organization and where they're at. And it really, this is a hands-off way of being like, hey, read this, get up to speed with what we're doing, and then come back with your questions, you know. Richard says an AGM site can be a citation. Yes, 100%. Every single listing, Richard, is a citation. It's a good question. So people, you know, you can sell your citations, right? You can sell listings. That's one of the reasons we do it. So after the sales call, after the agreement is, this is how we start the campaign, right? Whenever we close somebody, they sign our agreement, which you all have access to. We don't work on the project until we get the payment, of course, like everything else, right? Same procedure for everything, for a website and all that. You don't get started until you actually collect the payment. We had somebody that we sold a $12,000 project to a couple of days ago, and they were in, like, they just had, we ran the card and everything, and it didn't go through because it was such a high fee, right? And American Express didn't let the project go through, or the payment go through. And so they were like, okay, well, I have to call my bank tomorrow. It was late at night. It was like 7 o'clock their time. I have to call my bank tomorrow, let them know. And the next day, this morning, we reached out to them and they're like, you know what? We decided not to do it. We're going to go another way. And we even, you know, yesterday we ran their card and everything, like the deal was basically done, right? They decided to go the other direction. So that's why it's important. Like, you know, I know a lot of, you know, bigger names out there will tell you, like, if somebody tries to get out the door, like they want to buy something and they don't give you their credit card, you tase them and then get their credit card. Don't let them leave, right? Shoot them with the net gun. Don't let them go. I do agree to that to some extent, but sometimes people just, you know, they have to move money around. They have to do things, right? And so you don't want to be like disingenuous, right? Like you have to be understanding too. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. But the point of the matter is that we don't do anything until the actual payment comes through, because that can happen, right? What if we already started working on this project last night and then this happened? There's no point for us to even have done that. Bruce says that he just sold an AGM site to the local chamber today. And wow, that's awesome, Bruce. Congrats.
Thank you. And I figured out how to get them to advertise for me.
Did you go in person, or was that a Zoom call or a direct outreach?
I went in person. I set up an appointment with the president of the chamber, went in, drank their coffee, which is always a good thing to drink theirs instead of mine. Showed them a sample a membership site that I built for them, showing all of their members, and said, hey, here's what we're doing. I've been in this town now for 30 years. I said, and I used the MSM, concept of we're donating to a charity. And I told them I would, any SEO projects this year, they get 100% of my setup fees for the charity of their choice. And they had a charity in mind. And so they told me which one it would be. They're going to allow me to present to the entire chamber next Tuesday. And they're going to push it because they get non-dues revenue, because I told them I'm going to give them 50%, charging $49 per month for premium listings. And I'm going to give them half of that every month. So that creates non-dues revenue for them. They're going to pay me $150 a month for the site, going to get a donation to their charity of choice. And it's a win-win, and that opens the doors for me for all these different businesses.
Wow, that's a huge win.
So
Congrats.
thank you.
Has anybody else done any chamber work before? No. It's a great.
I have, and look, if you can get in with them, you're way laughing. But a lot of the smaller chambers around New Zealand actually have set up their own directory sites. So the first thing I've gone and done is really just harvested all their details, and then sort of gone with something that's a bit punchier, because normally what they do is they sort of get half the job done, they get it set up, and then they just leave it and expect it to be self-fulfilling. They don't drive it. So I think, Bruce, you've struck a good deal there. There's a lot of elements to what you've done, which means it's just going to continually self-propagate and develop and snowball, and that's it's really valuable, really valuable. Well done.
The thing that he liked about it, particularly, he actually brought in two of the ladies in the office to look at it and to get their feedback. They had just signed a contract last week with another company to do a new website for them. And he said, he told the one secretary, get them on the phone. We're going to cancel that deal, or we're going to get them to reduce it because we're going to use this site. He brought up one of the sample sites that they showed him from a neighboring town. He goes, this is so much better. He liked the fact that the AGM site brings in the photos, the information. He's like, that just, it was, the site itself sold itself. So all I had to do was structure the deal.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. And like Richard said, it just snowballs, in that situation. I really like working with the chambers, for obvious reasons. And pretty much everybody that I've ever talked to that has, for some reason, gotten over the fear. For most people, the reason they haven't worked with the chamber is because there's this fear of like the unknown, right? Like you don't want to walk into this place and what's going on in there, like there's a lot of people there. What am I going to have to do? But anybody that has gone through that and faced that kind of fear, which is totally not real, right? It's not real at all. Very nice people at any chamber for the most part. I've never heard a bad story. It has really paid itself out in dividends. So, I highly recommend, if you have a chamber near you that you can reach out to, or you're interested in that, you might want to do that. There's a big opportunity there.
So can I share one other thing kind of off topic from SEO?
Sure.
While I was there, the lady for the charity that the chamber wanted to push walked into the office. He said, you have to meet her. He took me out, introduced me to her. And her first comment was, do you do websites, and can you set up an e-commerce store for me? Here's my information. Give me a call next week. So they already opened the door for 2 more opportunities right then. So it's a good opportunity. I recommend it highly.
It sounds like a $10,000 sales call.
And I got a free cup of coffee. That's the most important part.
see, Bruce went in there with just the expectation about getting some food and some coffee, and that's when he walked out with a $10,000 website.
It's all about the cart, the coffee.
I love it. Congratulations, man. That's a huge win. Keep us posted on that. I know you're gonna crush it.
We'll do it.
Okay, so the first thing that we do, right? We do keyword selection. This is just a bit of data. Some websites already have primary keywords. So if you're taking on a new client and they have a website, you might be able to go to their website and see like what are they already about. If they're like, we'll just use roofers again. If they're about roofing, they might have a specific type of roofing service that they offer. Maybe they do ceramic tiles or shingles, or maybe they do all of it, right? So you might want to do some of that keyword research. What I do for my process in that is, I have Adriana, somebody on my team, use a tool like Keywords Everywhere. Is everybody familiar with that one? Keywords Everywhere. Yep. And so she will put together a list based off of some of the stuff that she finds on their website, and send them an email and say, hey, these are the terms that have the most traffic that are relevant to you, and give them a list and ask that they approve all those terms, maybe like 50 of them, right? And they'll approve like 50 of them at a time, maybe give you some feedback on order of importance. And then you will take those terms, and those are like the things that we write the articles about, specifically about those terms, right? So if we pick 5 of the best ones every single month and work our way down the list, we'll write an article about, one of those keywords, and then the next one, and the next one, the next one. We'll just keep going down that list. So I do recommend using that tool, Keywords Everywhere. It's a good one. There are a couple other good tools, and if anybody knows any, or anybody knows any other tools, feel free to like chime in and share them. I'm always curious to hear what other tools people use. One second here, I'm trying to pull up another tool for you. A tool that I use is called Soovel. Has anybody heard of Soovel? So this term, or this tool, it's SOOVLE. And what I use this tool is, it's basically like, how when you go to Google and you start typing in something, it'll give you the auto suggestion. Like if you start like you hit the letter T and then H, it'll suggest the most popular searched item. So that's exactly what it does, but it uses Google, Amazon, Yahoo, and so it gives you this huge swarm of the most relevant terms based off of your seed term that you're putting in there. So if I'm going like I just type in, if I type in roofers, right? Like these are all the most popular terms for all of these different websites and these properties. And so you can take these terms, and then you can start looking in other tools like Google Keyword Planner and stuff like that. And so keyword research, it's all about finding the most high traffic search terms that are relevant for whatever website you're working on, right? You definitely want to try to rank for those, but usually those are the most competitive, if you go into something like that's less competitive, right? So like roofers in, so if I'm a roofer and I'm in Maui, my most competitive search term is going to be roofer Maui, right? But Maui is clearly not a great place to do roofing. So we'll do New York roofer. So the most competitive term for that, for roofers in New York is going to be roof New York. But the more long tail you get, the more you add on to it, the less competitive it's going to be, right? So if you put like roofer in New York City, like that's going to be less competitive because there's going to be less people going for that term, right? The more words you add to that term, it's going to be less and less competitive. And what we do is we start to write articles on those longer tail search terms. And by doing that, you really lay out the relevance and the foundation for your website that you're trying to rank. So every month we'll write articles based off of some of these longer terms that are relevant, that aren't nearly as competitive as the more competitive stuff, and still get maybe a little bit of traffic. And that way, over time, we will start to rank for the more competitive stuff. You see how that kind of works? It's easy. These are like the low-hanging fruit, we call it, right? The low-hanging fruit is really what we start out with. So you can use a tool like, obviously Keywords Everywhere, like I mentioned, but if you start drawing blanks, you can use Soovel, put some of those terms into Soovel as well. You can see what people are being suggested to in Google and all these other platforms as well. And so that's a great way to do it. This is another tool here. It's called lsigraph.com. And so LSI, for those of you that aren't familiar with that term, it's called latent semantic indexing. So these are keywords, basically, again, to the example of roofers. If you're building a website about roofing, you're going to have words associated with that industry, right? You're going to have shingles, nails, hammers, construction, blueprints. These are all words that are associated with this industry. And if you can figure out what those LSI keywords are related to your industry or website you're trying to rank for, and use them in the the content on the website or in the articles, then that's going to give you a stronger relevance to that website, right? And again, like a roofer website isn't going to have all the search terms or the keywords that a dentistry website is going to have, right? So, this tool can help you figure out what some of those LSI terms are as well. Has anybody used this tool before? LSI graph? No?
I haven't been using that, Nick, but I have been using sort of just Wordly and what's it called, Surfer.io. So you punch into that same thing. It's like the core topic, and so mine, I did it for a customer website I built, the cleaning firm, which is in Central Otago. They do window cleaning and a couple of other specialist, commercial cleaning services. So chased all those, window cleaning, Central Otago, gutter cleaning, Central Otago, commercial cleaning, all of those things, and then got Jarvis and edited the content so that we then included the optimal amount of keywords and phrases, the right amount of headings, the right amount of images, the right amount of paragraphs, and the total wording as well, and then put that into their new website. So that just happened all sort of last week. It sort of went live, and immediately brought them up, 2 places on, from the bottom of the front page up to sort of the middle of the front page, underneath the 3 advertisers at the top. So it's nice. Working, but it's sort of got to get that system a bit more, down packed. And what I'm trying to do is, I interviewed last week a content writer who's here in Christchurch as well, and had a cup of coffee with her that I paid for, and she's a classic millennial, and so she's gone out contracting, and it's all good and stuff. And I said, well, look, this is what I want to do. We'll give you the keywords when you just sort of hit these numbers and putting the content together for web pages, and so we'll give you a good outline. You do the job, fill it in. But she was $70 an hour, so she wasn't giving her service away. But I thought, well, how much can you get done in an hour? Because I know how much I can do using those programs in an hour, and I could do a couple of pages, no worries at all. So I thought, this is going to be pretty good service. Well, she emailed me the next morning and just said that she said at the time she didn't like doing that kind of writing, like it was sort of interfering with her art, and I was like, well, that's the job. I mean, you're contracting, she didn't really like doing that style of writing. So so she emailed me the next morning and said, oh, look, we're just too far apart. I'm not really interested in what you're doing. Thanks, but no thanks. And I was stunned, absolutely stunned. Why a contractor would turn around and go, not my thing. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. What's interesting too, though, is like Jarvis, now called Jasper, right? Works so well. Like, has everybody tried that tool to write content? It is insane. It is insane. This is the tool. You can basically give terms and things that you want it to write it on. Like, let's say you do keyword research, you can put that information in Jarvis and it'll give you like a 500-word article that is like perfectly written, and you can just go in there and use that as your base and adjust it. And so, you can almost hire a lever puller at that point, Richard, somebody that can just come in and just kind of give it the geographical relevance, add the location keywords to those articles. And it would,
and that's what I'm doing. So I've got my web builder. Then I want a content writer who massages all this stuff, and if I can get them to do the keyword research and stuff like that as well, even better. But that's something else we can sort of put that function in place. And then the third part of it is, of course, the graphics. And making the website look pretty, and I think you put those sort of 3 different contractors all on the same thing, all the set fee. The delivery of product will be just out of this world. But the whole idea is that I'm trying to sell new websites or redone websites, but particularly new websites with pre-optimized content. And that's sort of saying, hey, we're actually giving you a head start on your competitors by doing all this for your website. So rather than you going to the 500 people that do websites here in Christchurch, this is something we do a bit different, but there's no point in doing all of that if you're not going to use it as a sales tool. Hence, we sell them the sales funnel at the same time, and then after that comes the ongoing optimization and SEO and those things, the support services. But this is the foundation product of what my agency does now.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And people that always resonates to people. I say the same thing, really building the website is just part of what we're doing for you. Of course, we're going to build you an amazing website, but what we're really passionate about is getting more traffic to your website, and they're like, oh yeah, the traffic thing that does make sense.
And here's and as well, just as so my agency is about generating sales. That's what we do. We don't do pretty pictures on the internet. We make your phone ring, and that's what we're here for. Because if you're not using your online presence for that, well, you're not using it. You're just putting more pretty pictures on the internet, and everyone else does that. So leave them to it.
And see, that's the difference, Richard. That's a really good point that you're making there for anybody that's kind of like newer. A web developer won't ever talk about that kind of thing. They're going to talk about building the website, right? And for a business owner, they don't, especially newer business owners, they know they need a website, but what they really need is a way to get more customers, and that's what the website is usually for, or a way for their customers to get more information about their products and services, which also means another way to get more customers. And so a web developer will say, all these things about building a website, but somebody that is, a marketer or a marketing agency will talk about exactly what Richard said, which is the benefit of having the website and selling more than just the website, the ongoing service. And that was my huge transition myself into just building websites to doing these recurring services. So keep that in your pocket, Dan, as you're doing your website builds and stuff like that. As you have the discussions while you're selling the websites, you can kind of pre-sell them on the idea of, this is what's coming next. Yes, we're going to build you this great website, but once we get that website done, like, you want to get more traffic, and we can help you with that later. But let's get the website knocked out right now.
Well, exactly, and that's why I've settled on the sort of three pillars of what I do. And I've moved away from making content for social media, although we're still doing some videos and stuff. But the base of it is having a website that's capable, modern, and operates at correct speed and all those things, optimized. So that the pre-optimized website, start off with that. The sales funnel that generates leads, finds people, and that's an ongoing form of revenue for us as well. And then the third one is you use social media to promote that sales funnel. And the sales funnel is only as good as it's coming off the website, because it delivers a very specific message, and people want to know more or engage with you more, they're going to visit your website, and that's where it's got to tell the full story and stuff. So but in saying that, we're talking now, I'm sort of moving to the stage of like somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000 to set that up, and $900 to $1,500 a month to just keep on running it and generating things. And that includes, I've been working this morning since 7 on a target list for our first email out for the cleaning firm in Central Otago. And I've got 120 businesses in his hometown who have gone and, using things like Hunter.io, found the owner or the general manager of the business. I've made this email list that is going to the people who make the decision. And on Monday, we're going to send them an offer saying, look, we'll do a no obligation quote for you cleaning your windows, all commercial buildings and shops and stores. And if he picks up a dozen customers out of that from his hometown next week, that's an incredible investment from his part. But also then the following month, we just go and hit another town. We do the same thing again. And I keep charging them $1,500 a month to keep on doing it. So, generating the list is one thing, but part of my team doing that, and to line up all these things in a row has been my complication and my headache. And it's a real pain in the ass, but we're getting there. This week I made 4 video presentations and sent it to my hot lead, which is a blind cleaning company. So we're building a new website for them. We're doing a sales funnel, all of these things. Got a meeting on Tuesday to confirm it and nut out the pricing and stuff. And what I did was I made 4 Loom videos and said, this is your website, right? This is why your online presence is important. So I talked to them about what Google does and how it works and stuff. Then I went on to say, this is what we do with your content on your website. This is what a sales funnel does and how it works, and then sort of the fourth one was about wrapping them all together and saying, hey, this is how our service center does. And because I could sit in a meeting with them for an hour and a half and explain it, it was going to go in one ear and out the other. So I showed him it on a Loom video instead. And he came back immediately and said, let's meet on Tuesday. I want to get on with it. So pretty crude, my Loom videos. And I'm going to actually do them so they're a damn sight more professional. I think I need to hop on Jasper and write the script, so
That's a
there's
good
no
idea.
ums and ahs in it and stuff, and then practice it a couple of times and really deliver them so they're a 2-minute succinct presentation on each part of those, 6 or 8 minutes in total, where a customer who knows nothing can then watch those and go, wow, that's exactly what I want, and that's what my business needs.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. And Celia mentioned this other tool, Rider. I don't know if you guys have seen that one before. She said it's a little bit more affordable than Jarvis and has less restrictions based on characters. So that might be a good one to try as well. That's good stuff. Good stuff. And yeah, you can write ads, like Richard said. You can have your Loom video scripts being written, all that stuff. And I honestly, Richard, sometimes the more crude the videos are, the better. I know it's weird. Sometimes it just, people resonate with it, right? Like if it's too polished, it's almost like, I think it's one of the reasons my like, if you guys have been on one of my webinars, like an actual sales presentation webinar for AGM or whatever, it is not like a very nice, beautiful webinar, right? It's just it's like a guy who does this for a living, put some slides together and like is showing you what he's doing. And you can feel that because like that's what it looks like. But when you have something that is so perfectly manicured and it just like all the graphics are perfect and slick, like, yes, you have that wow factor, but at the same time, it almost, I don't know, I'm very skeptical, especially with internet marketers. And when I see a perfectly like balanced graphic, presentation, all that stuff, I'm like, man, these guys just got too much time on their hands. I don't know. There's just something doesn't sit right about it. It's the same with the videos, it really is. You want the person that's actively working it. And usually those people don't have time to have, a professional videographer coming in with makeup and a suit,
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to jump back into this, you guys. I know we've been sidetracked. So keywords, very important, right? Analyze your on-page SEO. We're in month 1, right? So we do all of this for the first month. We do keyword research. We check out their on-page SEO of their website. What I do to do that, one of the easiest ways, there's a lot of tools out there, tools like Surfer, like Richard already mentioned. There's another tool called SEO Minion, which I've probably mentioned to you before. It's a Chrome extension. This is it right here, SEO Minion. And you can go to any page and you can do like analyze the on-page SEO, right? It'll tell you the title tag of the website. So I have my main key, this is my website. I have my main most profitable keywords in my title tag, right? I have the description. I have my main most profitable keywords in the description. Same with the H1 tags and variations in the H2 tags. And so I use this tool, and other people on my team use this tool to do like a real quick on-page audit of any website we're about to work on. And if we find that any of this is out of place, what we'll do is we'll log into the website and we'll update it, right? We'll make sure that we get a version of the keyword in the title and in the description. We'll write a better description. We'll write a better title. We'll write better H1s, and we'll do that throughout the website. So that's the important stuff that we're talking about at the beginning of this call. If you don't do this correctly and you try to buy citations or buy backlinks or build backlinks and do all that other stuff, none of that is going to matter until you do this. That's why we do it in month 1. So for those of you that, or I'll speak for myself. When I first got into SEO, I saw services out there like the Hoth and Marketer Center and Web20, and there's a lot of those services are great, but if you don't do the on-page stuff first and you go buy any of that other stuff, and what you'll find is that nothing happens. You buy all that stuff and nothing happens. And the reason nothing happens is because you skipped a step. This is the step you need to do first. You need to make sure this is all in line. Okay. So we'll do the on-page, and it's very easy. It's very easy, right? We want to have at least 300 to 500 words on the homepage of whatever site. Sometimes you want to have a little more, but that's a good base, at least 300 to 500 words of relevant content. So if it's your agency website, you have 300, 500 words about what you do and what your agency does and the keywords that are associated with that. If it's for your client and their roofing company, same thing, 300 to 500 words. You know, I'll pull up one of my clients here, Maui Solar. This is a solar company, you know, 300 to 500 words about solar, right? This is their H1 tag, your premier Maui solar company. What keyword do you guys think that we're trying to rank for this website? Maui solar company, right? So you'll find that that's in the title, that's in the H1. If I go to analyze the on-page SEO, you know, you're going to see all that, right? The H1 tag, your premier Maui solar company. The H2s are get Maui solar from Pacific Energy and start saving. So that's all relevant. 300 to 500 words at a minimum. This one has 1,000 words. That's a nice little tool with SEO Minion. It gives you the word count right there. So it really tells you right away. There's another little ninja trick that I want to share with you all. There's a tool called End Topic. Are any of you familiar with that one? So, and I know I'm kind of blasting you all with a lot of tools here, but this one is a really good one for figuring out the relevance of your website. So it's called I'm going to put this in the chat for you. ntopic.org. And let me log in real quick. And so what it does is it allows you to figure out how relevant your website's content is for the given keyword for that page. And remember when I talked about the LSI keywords, like the keywords that are related to an industry that aren't the specific keyword, but they're related to an industry, like roofers have, you know, hammers, nails, ceramic tile, stuff like that. That is a way to generate more relevance to your site, because those words, just by nature of being on a roofing site, are going to be relevant to it. So what I do is if I'm trying to rank, you know, let's say I have a client that comes to me and they're a solar company in Maui and they want to rank. What I will do is I will go look for their most competitive keyword, right? So we'll go to Maui Solar and I will look at the #1 website and I will, you know, that's my client, right? They're happy with us. I will, but if I had somebody that, you know, wasn't #1, right? Just pretend, I would go to the #1 because they're obviously the most authoritative. Google thinks they're the best. They're the most relative for this term. I would copy all of their content, you know, Command A, select all, right? Copy it, just copy it straight up. And then I go back to that end topic, and then I paste it all right here. And what that does is it puts all of their content in their website. Every written word on the homepage is all in this tool now, right? And now I'm going to type in the term that I want to rank for, Maui Solar. And the reason I'm doing this is because I am looking to figure out all of the words that they are using that Google is obviously reading and helping to give them that relevance to that term. So when I type in that keyword there, what the tool did was it looked at all the content that I have on their website and it gave me the density, the ratio of how many times these different words are said on the website, right? So you have the keyword density, that's kind of a metric there, right? And so if you have 500 words on a website and 50 of them are solar, then you have a 10% keyword density for solar. That's just a basic way of explaining that so everybody can understand that. But so you want your focus keyword that you were trying to rank a website for, or a page on a website, to be around the 6 to 9% keyword density range. So you can see if I'm looking at this website, Maui Solar, you can see the keyword here, it's all in green. If this is my client's website and I check their keyword density and I do the competitor research and I look at the guy in the #1 position and I see they have a 9% keyword density for this term and my client's is only 6%, what do you think I'm going to do there? I'm going to add more of those keywords to my website to get the density to be the same, if not a little bit higher than them, right? So I use the competitor analysis to look at what their on-page content is. And I use this tool. And then I can go in here and just as kind of a draft, I can edit the content, right? I can just make some adjustments, put Maui Solar a few more times in there in various places, make it read kind of good, check the density again until it falls in line with what I'm looking for. And then I'll upload it back to the site, right? And, you know, these other terms too, right? Energy, Hawaii, company, electric, panels, installation, same thing. You know, when you have these terms that are in the red, they're less dense than when they're in the pink, right? So you kind of want to have that same type of relevance. If Google is looking at the #1 website for Maui Solar and they're relevant for all these terms, then in order to outrank them, you're going to have to at least be as relevant as them, if not more. Does that all make sense? I know I kind of covered a lot of ground there, but
Have you used Surfer.io?
I've used it before, yeah.
Yeah. So because that's I'm using that, and
Mhm.
for me it covers a lot of what you just gone over with this, but only it also does what SEO Minion does as well. So you kind of
Yeah,
like
I mean, there are a lot of tools out there, you know. What I like about end topic is my ability to kind of like update the content in real time and then recheck the relevancy. I don't know if you can do that with Surfer. If you can, that's great. Yeah, like being able to copy all the content, paste it in there and update it. It's helpful for me to do it that way. But yeah, if you have something that works for you, Richard, then that's great.
Nick, what happens if you exceed that 9%? Does it take you out of the green and throw you back into the red?
No, so it only just makes you green when it, like, these are the highest relevant out of all the lists. It's the only reason they're really green. So the color and all that that's not really what you're too focused on getting. It's really you know, you don't want, you know, although electric panels are relevant words, that's not the focus keyword, right? The focus keyword for this page is Maui Solar. So that should be the highest out of all the other terms. It should have the best density, you know? And so, yeah, that's really what you want to do there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question though. I'm trying to think. There's one other thing I wanted to say here about end topic, but I'm drawing a blank. You know, competitor analysis for SEO is huge. It's huge because if you're trying to outrank somebody, again, you have to be doing at least what they're doing, if not a little bit better. So if the person for Maui Solar that's in the #1 position has 1,000 words of content on their website and you only have 400, then one of the things you might want to do is you might want to add 1,000 to your website, because that way you at least have the same thing that they have, right? So it's kind of a cat and mouse game. You know, you're going to go look at their backlinks and see how many backlinks they have. If they have 30, you want to have at least 30, you know, and you want to use some of the same anchor text that they have, because clearly they have a working model. You know, they have a working model and you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You might as well just start out doing what we know works, you know? So if you're trying to rank your marketing agency for terms like, you know, SEO in Hawaii or wherever you live, look who is in the #1 position, see what their content is on their website, how many words are there, how dense is the search terms, what keywords are they using, and then go create content like that, same density, same terms, but in your own wording, right? And you're going to be in a place to start really being a contender with these other people. Like, this is how you do it, right? You build your own version of what they're doing, and then you do it a little bit better. Everybody with me still? Cool. Let's see. So step 2, analyzing on page SEO, add content. And I've been talking about, you know, this is the same for your website, or if you bring on a client, you do this for their website too. You know, this is month 1. If you're charging $1,000 a month, this is step 2 of getting that $1,000. You know, you just spend a little time there. I mean, it actually doesn't take you that much time to do that either, right? I mean, you can get this done in a couple hours, and maybe even less. You know, the most difficult part about doing the competitor analysis and making sure your keyword density and all that is in check is really writing the content. Like, that could be the most difficult part. What I usually do is what Richard did, you know, hire somebody to write the base. Like, I need 500 words about SEO in Hawaii. And so when somebody writes that for me, I'll put it in an end topic. I'll do the competitor analysis, and then I'll edit the base to fall more in line with what the competitor is doing.
I tried to hire someone, and
Huh?
the millennial didn't want to work.
Yeah, what you tried to do. You got the millennial. I'm a millennial, man. What's up? I'm a rare breed though.
You know, like, so how old are you?
34.
Yeah, you kind of just, you know, you're not, I mean, like the millennial today is the 2000s, you know, like born between 98 and 2008, and they're just on another planet, you know. They're not assimilated to normal life like the rest of us. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can agree. I can tell you a lot of the people that like my peer group are not really my age group, unfortunately, you know, and the reason is because we just don't have, you know, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, like, I just don't have that in common with a lot of people that are my age. You know, they're out doing weird shit, and I don't know what they're doing, but we just don't have that stuff in common. So, you know, like, look at Tom and I are like, what, 15 years apart, probably, you know, and I mean, that's a great example. Okay, so step 3, install and configure SEO plugins. Now, a lot of you are familiar with Yoast, right? All-in-one SEO, project supremacy, now called Zagio, which is a great tool for this. Zagio does a lot of this stuff that we're talking about doing too. You can do keyword research with it. You can analyze the pages of your website. There's just so much. So there's a lot of different tools out there, and you're going to find that in your career as an SEO person if you decide to keep doing this beyond just the minimum viable presence for yourself. There will always be more tools out there, and you know, you're just gonna have to find the ones that you like and that work and stick to it. And that's what I've done here, right? Like Richard's got access to other tools, but
I've
you know,
got
I found
Exagio, and that Exagio is just the most exciting. I think the most exciting product I've ever brought while I've been involved in this. That Exagio is just amazing.
it's insane. Yeah, Norm also said he crushed it in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, within like 5 minutes, it told me like where to put it, what page to put it on, what content, what keyword to put on what page, and then within like 5 minutes, it was like boom, wow, amazing.
Yeah, and you know, Herc is another guy, and Todd is another guy that, you know, like Herc is in my peer group, right? We geek out on SEO. Like we will send stuff back and forth. Like that's what we talk about, you know, direct messaging each other, because that's the stuff that we geek out on. But yeah, he's another guy that's like actively figuring out what the good tools are, what are the valuable pieces of SEO, how can I incorporate them into my tool and all that stuff. And so you can only get that from actually doing it in testing, and he's definitely doing it. So you know, you want to install one of those plugins for your client or for your own site, and then, you know, configure it. And then step 4 is set up the website settings. So these are all the settings that you'll find in WordPress, right? For the most part. Oops. In whatever website platform you're using, right? It could be Squarespace. WordPress is the most popular. That's the one we like using the most. It's easier to rank, in my opinion. There's going to be an argument there. Chase Reiner, he likes using Squarespace. I like WordPress. There's just a little bit more flexibility there. But these are the basic settings. You know, if you have any questions on these, you can just, you know, Google them. They'll tell you where to change them in the actual back of the WordPress dashboard. And so this is the on-page setup. So this is, you know, the information that you find using SEO Minion. These are the things that I do on every single page to make sure that the on-page SEO is on point. These are the things that I found make a big deal, and I do to every single website. And so, you know, we can go through this stuff because I do think it's important. So it might take a little bit of time. Is everybody cool on time? I know we're at an hour.
Can I ask a real quick question about your previous page?
Sure.
At the very bottom there, you mentioned the Google Analytics, and you use your account for all your analytics.
Yes.
Okay. You don't. What if the customer already has an account set up?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So I call that my container account. So
Okay.
SEO at Nick Ponte. If a client doesn't have analytics, we'll set one up using SEO at Nick Ponte. That's the account. If they do have it, we'll ask them to grant us access
Okay.
to that account, SEO at Nick Ponte. And it's just easier, right? You want to have one account that you use that you can send to everybody, like one email, makes it easy, makes it clean. When you bring on a project manager, it will, like, they'll know the email. Like, you don't want to use their email and then another email, because what you want to do is be able to log into analytics and have all your clients there in one place. You don't want to have to like search for them all over the place. You know what I mean? That becomes a total pain in the ass. And, you know, I did it that way in the beginning until I streamlined.
So do you have the same UA code for every account, or do you set each property up separately?
No, yeah, it's different. They're all set up separately. So
Okay.
if I go to let's see. They're all separate. And I do this, so if you look at the onboarding SOP, you'll see all of this. I do this with Google My Business. I do it with Webmaster Tools. You know, I had to go back and make sure that I did all this, right? Like I simplified all this stuff.
Okay.
Because at one point it wasn't that way. I had to log in through all these other platforms. One second here. Getting the two-factor authentication. Richard says, is it true if you're using Wix, you can't be a member RM? You know, it's funny. I've seen some Wix websites rank really high. But yeah, if you have a Wix website, you can't. We're gonna have to ask you to leave.
I love Wix websites. They give me
You do?
jobs. They give me jobs.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
but that's true. But I think as a community, we have to have standards.
No,
Yeah.
I love it when people have a Wix website, because I go in and show them their website and it creates a job. It's perfect.
It's true. It's good. So this is my container account. You know, you can see these are all,
Okay.
there's a lot of clients in there. But yeah, they all have their own numbers. So we'll create one, we'll send it over to them. We'll give them access if they ask for it. We'll transfer it over if they leave, stuff like that. Just
All
makes it easier.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we're gonna go through this stuff because I think it's important, everyone. But we probably won't do as much of a Q&A at the end as we usually do. So if you do have questions along the way, just kind of ask them as we go, because I think we'll try to get them out of the way while we go through it. Okay, so optimize one. So this is again, we're still in month 1, right? Step 5 is the page setup and optimization. So again, I use SEO Minion to kind of like do a quick once over and see what's out of whack. But these are all the things that I'm actually looking for. And so whenever we bring on a new client, whoever is actually my project manager, Adriana, she goes through this list and she checks all these boxes. She makes sure that all these things are done. Every single client that comes in, this is standard operating procedure. So each page of the website is going to have one keyword that we're focusing on, right? We're not focusing on 10 keywords per page. It's one keyword per page. So if you look at that example of the solar company, this one is about, you know, Maui solar. That's the most profitable, most difficult, most trafficked keyword is what we're using on their homepage. Just that one, right? If I want to go to another, you know, another page, you can see that this one, like this is a blog article that we write, right? Every month we write these articles. This term is being this page is being optimized for Tesla roof on Maui, right? Because Tesla now offers these, I don't know, these shingles that are like PV solar panels. So that's the one term per page, per blog article, per page, always just one term, super important. The title tag, you want to have your main keyword in that title tag. So when you're looking at SEO Minion, you know, you can see the title tag right here, Tesla roof, right? The keyword is in the title tag. The meta description, same thing. Don't ever use all caps lock for anything like this because it throws off Google. You want to use the target keyword in the URL. You want to have the main target keyword in the first 150 words of the content body. That's, here, right? Like at the very top, the first 150 words, Tesla roof on Maui. You can see it there a couple of times. You want to have it in the H1 tag, which is this big tag right here. And if you don't know what H1 or H2 tags are, you can, review those, do Google search, and it's easy to figure out. You want to have different variations of the keyword for the H2 and H3 tags, right? So if the main focus term is Tesla roof on Maui, then the next, that'll be your H1. The H2 could be something like roofs on Maui are usually made with Tesla solar panels. It's not the exact same term, but it's a variation of it, right? And that helps you work around keyword stuffing, which can actually penalize you, but I haven't been seeing so much penalization for keyword stuffing these days because the stuffing that people are doing now, it used to be you'd have 1,000 words on a website and you would have like 80 of them were all the one main keyword. People don't really do that now, right? Like that's really aggressive. So you want to have at least 500 to 1,000 words per page. Content needs to be at least 51% unique, right? So if you're doing the example, like I said, where you're taking somebody else's content, you need to make sure you rewrite it, right? Like I don't recommend you just copy someone's content. You definitely need to rewrite it. So if you have somebody writing for you, you can say, hey, this is a blog article I want you to model, but rewrite it. And it definitely has to be at least 51% unique. The only reason that I have that in there is because sometimes people use like mass site builders and stuff like that, or content writers. Like before Jarvis, there were content writers that like spinners. Does everybody know what a spinner is? Where you can like spin the words. Well, those are the ones that you need to change to different percentage of uniqueness, because you'll take an article and you'll spin it and it'll be like, 80% unique or 20%. It needs to be at least 51% if that's what you're doing. You want to use.
You find that Surfer or Jarvis, one or the other, well, the two of them work together as well. And when you've finished doing your content, it actually checks it for plagiarism. So if there's any more than sort of like 10%, where it's found familiar in other areas, and that he gives you a warning on it, and everything else, or goes and rewrites it again, so that so you avoid it. So there's some smarts built into that now.
Yeah, man. I'm so impressed by Jarvis, Josh Zamora's tool, Create. I haven't used Writer personally, but those tools are insane. So you asked if I use Yoast on WordPress website. Yeah, we use Yoast. If somebody's already using Yoast too, like if you get a new client and they're already using Yoast, you can use Yoast as the SEO plugin. The only, we only upgrade to something like Zagio or all-in-one SEO is because there's a little more flexibility. If once you get your skills down a little more and you're taking advantage of some of the more sophisticated things that Zagio actually has, because there's a lot that these different plugins have. There's just, it's a freaking endless pit of things that you can do. As you grow your skill set, you might start using more of those plugins, and you can switch them out if you want. Let's see. You want to use LSI related keywords, right? Using ntopic.org, which I already mentioned to you. I showed you that tool. The primary keyword density should be 4 to 8%, or 1 to 2% more than the competition. Max 8%. Sorry, I said 9, I think. The max is 8%. Again, you all have this too, right? So if you've been taking notes the whole time and I misspoke on something, you'll have this to look at too. You want to use at least 3 photos on each page using JPEGs. I've actually been seeing people just getting away with 1, 2. You don't really need to have 3, 1 at least, at the very least. You want to name the alternate text on each photo, especially the first one, having the main keyword in that photo. Does everybody know what the alt or alternative text is for an image? Cool. You want to geotag your keywords or geotag your images with the keywords if you can. Does everybody do geotagging? No? Bill, do you know what geotag? Bill's, what the hell is geotagging? So
You lost me when you said SEO.
what's that? So geotagging is, if you take a photo with your phone, Bill, by default, if you have an iPhone, I mean, it might be different for other phones, but there's metadata associated with your images now. So if I took this photo here right now, and I had location services on, the coordinates of where I'm at will be programmed in the metadata of that image. Crazy, right? So if you take that image and you upload it to a website that is about Austin, Texas, you just have one more thing giving you that geographical relevance to Austin, Texas. So if I'm trying to rank a website for roofers in Austin, Texas, if I can add those coordinates to every single image in Austin, Texas, it's just another thing that Google is going to pick up when they're crawling that website that is going to give them that relevance that you're in Austin, right? And when you're operating at like the top level, you're going for the number one position, right? You look at your number one competitor and you've climbed the ranks, right? You went from, page 10, now you're on page 1, you went from 8 to 7, and now you're in like position 2 and there's someone in position 1. Any little thing like that is going to help you, right? You're not winning the race by miles at this point. You're winning it by inches. And whatever you can do at that point is really going to help you. And geotagging is going to help you do that. So yeah, that's that. This little section, everybody, this on-page optimization, again, this is, I know a lot of you are familiar with this, but I can't stress enough how important this is. If you have a website right now and you haven't done this for yourself, go back and do it. If you're selling SEO and you haven't done this for the person you're selling it to, this could likely be a big factor. Usually when we go back and do this to a website that's already been on Google for a while, we see a big increase in ranking just by doing this. And then all the other stuff just compounds the work. Because if you do this, the homepage and the main inner pages, the relevance for the keywords that you have indicated now through this process is so much greater. You've done so many things to tell Google that that's what this website is about. And that's really what SEO is about. So we will also set up the Google My Business. If they've already gotten a Google My Business page, they're going to give us access. We will add images to their Google My Business every month that are relevant to them, like from stock photography websites like Deposit Photos or whatever, or if they have their own, we will also geotag those images and then upload them to GMB. Obviously their website and their information needs to all be accurate in the Google profile. Sorry, I stand corrected. Not Google My Business anymore. It's called Google Profile. And then after that, we start planning out what our next month campaign is going to be, right? So the next month is going to be, we're going to write, and this is our base package. We're going to write 5 blog articles around different keywords that we have researched. And we're going to be writing those. So this is really just kind of a planning stage. So you're not really going to do anything there. Step 8 is setting up the sitemap, which if you're using a tool like All-in-One SEO plugin or you're using Zagio, it basically does that for you. You just have to set up the sitemap and check it, and like you're done. So that's really easy to do as well. And so, yeah, that's month 1. And I have somebody on my team that just, like I said, follows this template every single time we bring on a new person, and it's the same thing every single time. And once it's done, we let them know what we've done through our reporting, which you all saw last 2 weeks ago when I showed you those reportings examples. And then we, the second month, we basically write 5 articles. We optimize those articles in the same way that we optimize the homepage and all that other stuff that I've shown you. We will do either a backlink, a citation package, a press release. We'll do one of those 3 each month in our base package. If somebody hires us for like a more aggressive SEO campaign, maybe we'll do 2 backlinks in a month, or maybe we'll do 1 backlink and a citation. I have a new backlink source that I've been using that I want to give to you all. It's called Quality Guest Posts. Any of you ever used it before? So these are guest posts. You have to be very careful with like the backlinks that you get, because you can get them from somebody that creates them in a black hat way, like an illegal way, and you could send them to your site and you could maybe cause your website to be flagged, right? If you get them from someone that's not trustworthy. This is a trustworthy site. It's called, again, here, I'll put the link in the chat for you.
Can I just ask a quick question, Nick? Can you tell us what is a backlink?
Yeah. So if I go to this example, right, this is the solar company. This is a blog article on their website. Let me pull up one that actually has a backlink. But basically, anytime you're on a website, like this is a link, right? We're all familiar with what a link is. If this website is linking to my website, that's a backlink. And it can be in a blog, it can be on their homepage, it can be wherever. As long as this website is linking to my site, that's considered a backlink. And the anchor text is whatever the text is that you would click on in order to go to my website through that link, right? So in this case, the anchor text is youtube.com/watch, blah, 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 right? Let me give you an example of an anchor text that's, different. So like this would be an anchor text. It says the importance of websites for small businesses in Hawaii. So this is an anchor text. And so if you can get, if you're a marketing company and you can get a website like mine, which is clearly relevant for marketing terms, to send a backlink with the anchor text that's like SEO in Christchurch, New Zealand, where Richard ranks for that term for one of his AGM sites, that's going to help tell Google that he is an authority in marketing in that location. So that's what a backlink is. And so quality guest posts, basically what they do is they will go out, you tell them, hey, I want to get a guest post, which is also a backlink. But the way you get the backlink is they do manual outreach. You'll tell them like, I need a link for a solar company, and I want to use the anchor text Maui Solar, because that's going to help me rank higher for that term, right? And I'm going to have that backlink go directly to the page of that website that's about Maui Solar. And so what they will do is they will go out and they will find all these blogs about solar or maybe home improvement that are in that industry. And they will send emails to them and reach out and say, hey, we've written a blog article about roofing in this area. It would be a great asset to your site and your readers. Would you like to link to it on your website? And they will find people that say yes, and they will give them the link, and they will actually send the link to your website. So that process is organic, right? That's not a black hat thing that you can get flagged for. And so it's more difficult to do that. But we use our clients' money to buy these guest posts every month, right? So we do 1 guest post a month in our basic package. So if we charge somebody $1,000, $100 of that buys one of these guest posts. And then we just specify the anchor text and what page to send it to of our website. Any questions on that, you guys and girls?
So, and is that like custom made for it then? Like you're buying something, so you're not just buying a generic stock standard article, you're buying something that actually fits in with what your website is, yeah?
Yeah, these guys will write a blog article. Well, they'll do one of two things. They will write a blog article for that website to actually post the backlink in. They'll say like, hey, we'll write an informative article on this topic for you if that's what you want. Or we found an article on your website that's already already about this topic. We have another one on our website that's about this topic that could be useful to your readers reading the one on your page. So why don't you just link to ours? So they'll give you that type of backlink.
And I was seeing, I looked at a backlink report a few months back, and it had a customer I'd done some work with, and they worked with another agency, and they had 1,145 backlinks, which seemed like an extraordinarily high number.
Yeah. So you're going to run into that all the time, right? Like if you look at my website, you're going to find a shitload of backlinks. And the reason, well, there's a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is like anytime we build a website, like look at this solar company website that we built, right? We have what's called a web developer tag in the footer. It's a sneaky way to get another backlink, right? See how it says SEO and web design by Nick Ponte Marketing down there? See that anchor text? See how that could be valuable for us? SEO and web. Why not just say web design by Nick Ponte Marketing? Well, I want to get a little more relevance for the SEO term. And so if you go to any page on this website, you're going to find that same tag. So that means that if this website has 500 pages, that's 500 backlinks just from that one alone. That's not always a good thing, but that's why sometimes you notice that in some of your competitor research. You know, sometimes things like that can happen. Usually it's not a good thing. I'll be completely honest. But you know, again, back to the SEO mindset. If you're a web developer, this is a standard process. This is a standard procedure, right? Web design by Nick Ponte Marketing. That's just a standard thing, and Google knows that. They can't penalize web developers for that. So, you know, it's not something that you can get penalized for. And the SEO mindset thing is if you're doing something that makes logical sense, then it's probably a green light. You know, if you're trying to fake something, you're trying to create 10,000 backlinks through a backlink machine software, like nobody gets that many backlinks all at once the same day. You know what I mean? I don't care what it is. Like it has to make sense. It has to be realistic. And if it seems like, and if it is something that could actually happen in real life, then that's kind of like the metric. Like it's okay to do it.
Are there any negatives from having the web developer link? Do customers ever have an issue with that?
No, I mean, not really. If we build their website, they're usually pretty cool with it.
Okay.
You know, if you created something that was like, didn't look good, I could see them asking you to, you know, not do it. But what Norm said to you, you know, you can ask them, hey, is it okay if we put a website created tag on the bottom? It really helps our business. You'll find that a lot of them are very open to that. Yeah, if you look at my website, where am I? Yeah, look, I have 18,000 backlinks. And not all of those are, you know, actual backlinks from guest posting or anything like that.
That Tom Gaddis has got a healthy website, 98%. Like yours, but shabby made it 89.
Well, see, you know, that's another thing about this. Like, these are guides, right? These like Yoast. Just because you use Yoast and you do everything that Yoast tells you to do, that doesn't mean your website is going to rank. Yoast is just a guide, right? You can go in there and you can add 10 more keywords and make Yoast green, but that's not actually going to actually help your website. It's just a guide. This is a guide, right? They're gathering the metrics from all these data points, the backlinks, the referring domains, all stuff. You know, I have an 89% because my backlinks are so high. It's so skewed, right? It's not accounting for that. Some of these are just in the footer tags. Some of these are, you know, from people's AGM sites that are linking back to me because they're using the demo content. It's not accounting for any of that stuff. It's just accounting for what's actually there. So there's like kind of the human element that it can't really factor in, you know? So again, it's just a guide. Like, yeah, Tom's website has a healthier score than mine, but who's ranking higher? Don't tell Tom that. But yeah, so it's good to point that out. It's good to know that. But it's also important to know that these are just a guide, you know. These are just guide. Let's see. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save the next month for our next training because we're running up at an hour and a half here. But yeah, I think I know this is kind of a review for some of you, but I had not really done it yet with any of you, and I think it's important to do, and I hope it just kind of shed some light on some of the things. The way that I do things might be different than the way other people do things, but I hope that you can feel confident in that. Look at my website, it's ranking really well. What did I do? I did this. Look at all my clients' websites, they're usually ranking really well. What did I do? I did this. So when you're new to SEO and you're in that place before that singular moment where you don't have confidence in what you're doing, you followed some content on the internet, you did all these things, you haven't seen anything rank for yourself yet, you don't know if it really works, right? This works, and this is what you can feel safe doing. So I hope that that helped get some info out there to you all.